What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back. It is your favorite absolute coach once again. Now today, we're going to talk about ways people live life through being absolute and some things that can influence us in our absolute ways. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is morality. People will tell you this. They will tell you, I'm a Christian, that is why I do this. I'm a Muslim, that is why I do this. And so on and so on and so on. It is so different, but it helps them stay absolute in their ways. So, there's a huge difference because, again, this is a video about morality versus principle. Because the big difference is like morality, it's religious-based. Principle is more life-based. But I'll get to each on their own, So morality, first, is doctrine. It's all indoctrinated. You grow up. For me, I grew up as a Christian, went to church. That's all I know. So that is how I could form my right and wrong. It goes the same for anybody else. So when you look at someone and you question why they do the things they do, you cannot blame somebody for what they know and what they don't know. So, doctrine is one of the big differences. Another thing, morality is based solely on interpretation. Now, the way I see it is like this, right? There are so many verses in the Bible, so many things in the Quran, and so forth. I always saw it like a painting, right? You could have 50 people look at a painting and have 50 different interpretations of how much the painting meant to them. And it is always the same for how it is when you read, religious books. We try to stay on the path and understand it fully, but the way we interpret it is the way we're going to act it out. Next, we have our leaders, religious leaders, your pastors. So, when you have a religious leader telling you what's right and what's wrong, showing you your left and right limits, and that's all you know, that's who you go to because you think they know everything, and they're more of an expert, you give them that ethos, you're going to be more inclined to listen. It all makes sense. Then next, the word from the Most High. How do I put this here? God has his laws. He has them all written out. And you would pray to them too. And hopefully you'd be able to see what they're trying to teach you through prayer, through reading, and so forth. But the biggest problem I always see with living life through morality is that it's always skewed. You could have two Christians. You could have one Christian say, I don't drink because I'm religious because this verse says, don't be drunk. And then the next one says, I drink but I don't get drunk. There's a huge difference. They're both absolute in their ways in a sense, but there's a huge difference because they're not all in one accord. If you get that, nice. Next, let's move on to principle. Now, one thing I've always loved about principle is that it's all about you. To begin, life experience. I've told numerous stories on this channel, and principles help me. Life experience can help me come up with certain principles, certain rules that I try my best to obey. Like, one thing you could make a principle for is something you struggle with. For me, I used to have a problem with lying. So one of my principles has been no lying. And it even goes the same with morality too. The Bible tells you don't lie, and I'm sure the Quran may say something similar maybe. But, when I struggled with lying, I was like, dang, this is actually a problem. Let me try to find a solution to it. So I made a rule for myself. No lying whatsoever in any circumstance. That is that idea of being absolute. It does not matter the circumstance you're in. There's absolutely no lying. Because if I lie, I'm no longer absolute. Next, with principle, it can really be the flip of a coin. Because when it comes to rules, again, it's all based on you. Depending on if you're strong-willed, your rules will be rigid. But if they're not, they will be loose. You say, no drinking unless it is a Saturday. Why can't it be no drinking whatsoever if it's that big of a problem? Because if you allow yourself that one drink on Saturday, you're going to be yearning for it terribly throughout the rest of the week. And who knows, you may just give into it. So deleting it entirely gets rid of temptation. All right, moving on. Religious influence. Our religion can really, play a big part in the principles we make. One of my principles, one of my rules is make room for God. That's rule number 6, if I remember correctly. Make room for God. Again, morality is tied into my principle. Another one, upbringing. Our parents play such a crucial part in who we are today. My father, when I was younger, one of his first rules to me was no hitting girls whatsoever. And I still believe that fully to this day. No man should be putting their hands on any woman in any circumstance. And then lastly, your circle, who you hang out with. I had to learn myself. I struggled with peer pressure. I would have my peers, and I say I struggled with it because I do not want to blame them on the terrible decisions that I made. You have a full right to tell your friends no, and you have a full right to destroy your circle and come up with a brand new one. But the one thing that morality and principle really have in common is the thing we discuss most on this YouTube channel. The idea of being absolute. Now, principle, it can be hit or miss with how absolute you are. Morality remains absolute. It always remains black and white, right and wrong, left and right. You already know the deal. There are only two options here. The gray area was created by man because I think the person who created the gray area was the one who couldn't accept the fate. And if you can see the weather outside right now, the only gray area I happen to believe in is the one up in the sky. I do not believe in unless, I do not believe in but if, because the moment you start doing that is the moment you're no longer absolute. And that's something you gotta learn. So personally, what I do, I combine the two. I combine my principle and my morality. Combine the two because the Bible, it's very outdated, but it still can be applicable to today. And my principle, this is my life. So with the combination of the two, I can become the most absolute person that I can possibly be. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you gained something from it. Share it with your friends, subscribe, and smash the like button in the most absolute way possible. And I will see you next time.